it's getting to that place where you trust that the universe has your back, that life has your back. It's always for you, never against you, which there's times that it sucks. I mean, the pain that comes with disease, the fear that comes with disease, but it gets you out of that victimhood. You need all the power you can get to heal. You need life force energy. And if you're in victimhood, if you feel powerless, that something is happening to you, that your body is breaking down, or these tumors are out of control or whatever, that's going to hinder your healing. So the more we learn about all of this, the more we can take our power back. And again, life presents you with circumstances to show you where you're still not free. So a lot of times disease comes into life to show that, people have been beating themselves up terribly. They've been speaking to themselves in not so loving language. So again, it comes back to that self-love.
That's Kelly Noonan Gores, director of the documentary Heal. And this is episode 330 of Wellness Force Radio.
Wellness Force Radio, where we discover the physical and emotional intelligence to live life well.
You can have the same brain states as someone who's done an hour of meditation every day for 40 years.
There's a lot of losses that we go through, so the ability to be able to cope with those losses is very important to build skill in it, because loss will happen.
You have to have spiritual courage to really grow spiritually, because if you really want to take guidance from your soul, you have to be ready to realize that many of the things that you're asking for guidance on, your ego has some kind of an addiction to or an investment in.
This podcast is brought to you by Cured, full-spectrum organically farmed hemp grown in the rich rays of sunshine in a grassy field somewhere deep in Colorado. Honestly, this full-spectrum hemp could potentially be crafted from the tears of angels. That's how good it feels to take Cured. But here's the real deal. I like that analogy. The CBD and hemp world is the wild, wild west. This is serious, y'all. It took me over a year to partner with Cured because of the way they organically farm their plants and continually quality test their organically farmed oils. If you listen to Wellness Force episode 300, we did with Joe, the CEO from Cured, you'll know this product is Cured is the best of the best when it comes to full spectrum hemp, which is why I personally recommend this product. You can get 15% off Cured organically farmed full spectrum hemp. Give it a test drive. All you have to do is enter the code WellnessForce over at wellnessforce.com/cured. It's made a huge difference in my quality of sleep. Cured directly supports Wellness Force, and Wellness Force directly supports you. So save some money while you increase your quality of life. Go to wellnessforce.com/cured. Use code WellnessForce to get 15% off your organically farmed full spectrum hemp. I'm pretty sure our guest today uses CBD. We didn't talk about it, but I know she does. This is a world famous practitioner, director, creator in the wellness world. She is a double-decade actor and director who gave the world a beautiful gift in 2017 and also in 2019. That gift was called Heal, a documentary film that changed the game when we look at the blending of Eastern and Western medicine. And this director also wrote a book with a bunch of rich story and content that was not placed in the film. This is all the compelling and juicy extras that didn't fit into the Heal documentary. So if you've seen the documentary called Heal, like me, 3 times, I've seen it 3 times, you'll love this book. You'll discover your unlimited potential and awaken the powerful healer within. I mean, that's really what we're all doing. Like, we're learning from these experts on Wellness Force so that they can remind us of what we already know to be true. And this is what I really know we're delivering for you in this podcast today. If you're personally going through a healing journey right now, maybe it's physical, emotional, even spiritual. If you have a loved one or a family member, a friend that's been struck down by a disease, this is the podcast for you. Share this podcast with somebody that you care about. Share this podcast with somebody that potentially is healing on their own. They are not on their own. They're in this together with us. This is going to be a deep dive, a meaningful conversation with the director of Heal, Kelly Noonan Gores. We really covered a big landscape in this podcast. It's going to give you the backstory behind the filming of the documentary, how to decipher the charlatans from the real deal healers in this world, how to honor the mystery of this life, this roller coaster, you know what I mean, where we never know what's coming next. Kelly gives us the practical understanding of all her distilled wisdom she garnered from so many experts in the documentary, like Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Bruce Lipton, Peter Crone, who we've had on the podcast, and so many more. I'm going to drop the mic right now. It's time to understand what it really takes to heal ourselves with the director of the Heal documentary, Kelly Noonan Gores. Oh, and one last thing. If you feel something from this show, if you're lit up, from this show or something comes alive in you, please do us a quick favor. Our team and I would love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. It helps the show reach more people on the path of intelligence like you. Wellnessforce.com/review. Leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. You'll be entered to win 90 days of free Organifi. That's right, 90 days delivered right to your door. We'll pick it this month. It means a lot to us. Thank you for leaving us a review for Wellness Force, my friend. Now let's dig in with Kelly Noonan Gores. So I'm just fascinated with the fact that Heal has had so much success, but yet it's in a world where there's a lot of charlatans. There's a lot of people that say one thing and do another. And you handpick some of the biggest personalities, some of the most trustworthy people to be in this film and also in the book. And I'm curious, like, how you navigate this world. You know, the Los Angeles media world, especially the spiritual conscious community world, it can be challenging to navigate at times. Like, how do you navigate that from a place of authenticity and integrity?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I think it comes down to resonance, and feeling like all the people that I put in the film, I really was moved and empowered, and like my life on some level, big or small, was changed by their work. So I feel like there was a deep resonance of truth to what they were teaching. And when I feel that, I'm just like, okay. And I wanted to present what resonated with me in a way that was like not preachy, not like this is the only way or this is the right way, but this is a documentary that is truth for me, and maybe in 10 years I'll look back and be like, whoa, I'm at a whole different level of truth. I know I will be. But, I just wanted to share what works and what works for me.
Why now, though? Because it was actually 2016, 2017 that the documentary came out, right?
Yes.
And so why now with the book? I think it was the end of last year. You had your party in Los Angeles, the Heal book, Discover Your Unlimited Potential, and Awaken. This is what I love. Awaken the powerful healer within, which is what any great healer does. They're just awakening what's already there for us. But what's the timing on the book? And like, why did you come out with the book when the doc was already so powerful?
Yeah. The film came out at the end of 2017. So it's been out for 2 years. And, a couple months after it was released, actually the second month, the publisher that was distributing the DVD, which is kind of a dying medium.
People use DVDs?
Yeah, people still use DVDs. I know. What are those things? VHS. Yeah. So they said, look, we see a similar trajectory to The Secret. They also did the movie, the DVD of The Secret as well. And Rhonda Byrne kind of did it the same way. She did the film first, and then, I think she wrote the book in like a month. It took me much longer to write it. But I just felt that there was more content that I could fit in the book. There was so much we had to cut out of the film just because of storytelling. You need flow and rhythm and so you just, for an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes, you got to trim the fat. Otherwise you're going to lose your viewers. So there was a lot of just juicy, good content that was on the cutting room floor that the book was just an opportunity to put it out there. And I think for someone that's really wanting to learn, in a way for people just kind of waking up or becoming aware of their power, this is a 101 version. But it's also a good reminder for people who've been on the path for a while. And I think having a book in your hand, you can just like pick it up and see what page you're meant to turn to that day, what message here. And so I just think it's a good resource, and a movie takes a lot of commitment to go back and watch the whole thing. A book takes a little less commitment. You can throw it in your bag and it's there for you whenever you have time. It's
really cool. When I first saw Heal, I was just thrown back, especially by ROBB Wergen. Is it Wergen or Wergen?
Wergen.
ROBB Wergen. He's the gentleman that did the hands-on healing to the gentleman that cries in the movie. And it was so profound to me when I watched it, because I thought, this isn't being faked. This isn't being staged. I mean, these are real tears coming out of this man. And it just dawned on me, this conversation about Western medicine versus Eastern medicine, there's no more verses anymore. There's no more competition. It's almost like these worlds are blending so deeply now. Are you seeing this? And what was your feedback specifically from that scene in the documentary?
Yeah, I was amazed, just first of all, like all the people that volunteered to be on camera, working with this energy healer or working with the EFT Reiki practitioner that Eva worked with, Patty, I was just so blown away by how vulnerable everybody got. They just really let their guard down. And I think part of the work is, the legitimate, beautiful work that these practitioners were doing. It dropped the guard, and they had profound effects on these people. But I mean, I was just like so grateful as a filmmaker to be able to capture these real moments of transformation, so.
Well, you were so enthralled with the impact that I was sharing. I think really the question is that specific scene where there's the hands-on healer, there's ROBB who's actually healing this gentleman, this convergence of Western and Eastern medicine. First of all, are you seeing that more and more and more where they're no longer competing with one another? And then was there any general feedback about that specific scene?
Yeah. So I think that, more and more we're seeing, I've talked to so many doctors that were conventionally trained, where they're seeing that the system is kind of suffocating, putting this pressure on them where it's just not sustainable. Just them themselves. I mean, doctors, I think suicide rates are 50% higher than the national average. So the stress and the vehicle, the container that we have these Western medicine in, it's just not sustainable. So a lot of people are learning a new way of practicing medicine outside, whether it's a private integrative practice or functional medicine practice. So I think the system is breaking down, and it's forcing people to look at the body and medicine in a different way, which is exciting because we have to take into account people's stress levels, people's lifestyle, diet, etc. So, and then the feedback, I feel like it's almost like politics. You're not going to convince someone who's open minded and open to energy healing and all of that stuff are going to be tremendously moved by scenes like the one with Rob and Roger. Yeah. People that are skeptical of anything that's not like proven by science or whatever it is. There's a lot, even faith, religion, all of this stuff that cannot be proven in these scientific measures that they have set forth. They're going to be skeptical, and they're going to be critical. But I really haven't received a ton of negative pushback. I mean, maybe some comments on Amazon, which I stopped reading many moons ago because haters gonna hate. But
well, I always feel like when we get, because I'm a creator as well, and you're 20 plus years in the entertainment industry. So after 20 years, you probably feel this is true. If you're not getting negative comments, if you're not getting people that are attacking you in some way, the other scary side of it is that it's crickets, is that no one's saying anything. So in a way, like I feel, and I'm curious how you feel about this specifically when it comes to a film that's about healing people, which is a very sensitive, intimate piece. Do you feel like criticism is a good thing, even if it's people that are maybe experiencing pain themselves that are the ones leaving the negative comments? Do you think that's a good thing?
Yeah, for sure. It's inciting something in people. It's triggering a reaction. And, that's like, as you get more and more kind of conscious or spiritually mature, if that's a thing, like you realize that if you watch something and it triggers you, that's something you need to look at. If someone says something that triggers you, that's a part of yourself that you're denying. So it's kind of that shadow side that's rearing its ugly head. And, there's a healing aspect to that. So I'm happy to do that for people as well.
So when I look at the concept of healing in the past, healers were somebody that like lived on a mountaintop. People would crawl up to them. They'd be like, please heal me, almost like a holier than thou aspect. But in your film and in your book and what we're seeing just in general in the wellness world, that's gone away. The guru model, like people that are gurus. How do you even see that anymore? Do you think that guru is even a thing?
I think there's a lot of mini gurus. I think that we see it's like shifting the model now that we have social media and so much information at our fingertips. People aren't trekking to the mountain for this one special kind of hard to reach human. I think that we have so much access to so much information. The gurus are coming down from the mountaintop. And then there's a lot of little false idols that, have millions of followers on Instagram that people are so attached to everything they recommend and products. And we're seeing it, being attached to capitalism and people earning money from it. So The model is just shifting. I think it's the same model, just looks a little different.
I like how honest you were there about the Instagram connection. You know, it came up yesterday with a very powerful person on the show, and we were both reflecting on just the crazy mystery, Kelly, that we're in right now. It's a mystery, isn't it? We're using phones to dictate human behavior, and conscious content really has to compete. I do believe that there is competition here. Conscious content like Heal has to compete to get its message out there with really things that are just attacking the human psyche. You know, a lot of negativity, a lot of fear mongering that's out there in the world. But what I see you guys doing, especially when I look at the Instagram, is just posting little snippets of truth, little things that, like you say, resonate with people. And one of them is a concept we've talked about on the show with Sandra Biskind. I know you had Dispenza talk about this in the documentary. And it was, if your thoughts can make you sick, is it possible that your thoughts can help you heal? We're talking about psychoneuroimmunology here, like the study of thoughts becoming things on a biological level. How have you seen this narrative in social media, and how have you guys competed? I mean, do you even feel the need to compete? What's your stance on social media and pushing the heal message out there?
Yeah, I don't see it as competition. I try to think of it as like, okay, we need to start being aware of, obviously we're aware of what we consume in our mouths and the food we consume and the way it affects our biochemistry. We really need to be vigilant and conscious about what we consume as far as content. So it's just, I'm trying to provide kind of clean food content, you know, that gives you nutrition for your brain and empowering your thoughts and shifting. So I don't even see it as competition, but it is like, you know, it's very easy to just continue to just give little snippets of inspiration so that someone might get the message they need on that day that shifts the trajectory of their life, you know?
That feels true to me. Because when I look at even the concept of thoughts becoming things, and Dispenza is going to come on the podcast at some point. He's just very busy. And so when I see a clip like this, and when I see how it's presented, and honestly, just the message of thoughts becoming things, what's been your biggest learning curve with this? I mean, interviewing all these people and being in this community and having conversations with Dispenza and just having this rich education by actually doing it, by embodying these lessons. What's your take on psychoneuroimmunology? What does that mean to you? How has that changed for you in the course of interviewing all these experts?
Yeah, I mean, I love that you're talking about Joe Dispenza, because one of the biggest like ahas or kind of rules to live by is, you know, this quantum model of causing an effect. And, you know, the statement that keeps popping in my head is the feeling creates the healing. So there's a lot of, you know, law of attraction, your thoughts become things. And I do believe 100% that we're energy, we're frequency, and our thoughts are kind of energetic language that we're putting out in the world or putting into our bodies based on what we're talking to, our language that we're speaking to ourselves.
Yeah.
And so, you know, but when we combine that elevated emotion, that gratitude, that joy, with our thoughts, with our imagination, it becomes literally creative visualization. We are co-creating our life. And so it's getting our body, which is like just it's a tuning fork, you know, and we can get our bodies into and change the frequency of our bodies and affect our biochemistry, which I think is fascinating.
I think it's fascinating too, because as we already talked about, we're in kind of a big mystery here on planet Earth. We're just making sense of it all. And I believe all roads lead to self-love. I actually know that on a visceral level because it's been my journey. This is what we talk about on the show. We're at this convergence. We're at the intersection of physical and emotional intelligence here. So it's like we're half beast, half spirit. You know, we're both deserve respect. So like you had said, if we can change one thing, like if we can start to change the way that our brain functions, if we can start to change the way that our synapses are wired and our belief systems, in your opinion, and in interviewing so many powerful people, do you see it as really just restructuring beliefs that is the quotient to every kind of healing? Is it really just about our belief system? Is that actually the bedrock?
I think 1,000,000%. And you knowing Peter Crone, he would agree.
Yes.
I've spoken with him, and we had like a profound session, because I just started working with him again. I've been fortunate enough to know him and work with him off and on for 8 years. But he gets down to our belief systems, these constructs that we've built in our minds that are coloring the way we look at the world. The belief systems determine our lens, and then everything is filtered through that belief system. So, we worked on, I have a belief system because of my childhood that I am not safe. And so you develop these behaviors to try and make yourself safe. So I'm a people pleaser. I'm super vigilant. I can tell, I'm very empathic. So I'm hyper aware, but I'm taken out of the present moment. I'm worried about the future and when I'm going to make a mistake or, so if I can change that construct, if I can change that belief system, which is what we walked through and I was able to do, all of a sudden the lens with which my world, that I'm looking at my world changes. And then all of a sudden my breathing slows. I'm back in the present moment. Ever since we shifted this construct or dissolved this construct of I am not safe, my intuition is like through the roof, my clarity, my energy. It's wild. So I really do believe that it comes down to our subconscious beliefs.
I love this so much because it's not just lip service, like science and spirituality. I think for so long they were in competition and they were fighting each other. And so that's why I asked you earlier about the Eastern and Western, because this is what I'm seeing in the wellness world, speaking at the Paleo conference and then going to the expos and just having conversations like this. I just get this through line, this connecting thread that all roads are leading towards self-love and belief. And I think if we really look at everyone on the documentary, whether it's Anita Moorjani or Bruce Lipton or Dispenza, like they're all getting people to actually acknowledge what's there. And sometimes what we find, Kelly, it's not sexy. It's not fun. Like within the shadows holds the truth, but sometimes the truth is really, really hard to swallow. Yes,
I agree. And also, as you say that, belief in possibilities. So it's not just our subconscious beliefs. It's to realize that humans are only using, and I don't know what the exact percentage is. Maybe you do. I would say like less than 10%.
Yes, I've heard this.
Of our ability of our brains and our minds. So to believe, and I tried to, this is one of the intentions behind HEAL, and Joe Dispenza talks about it a lot, believe in possibility. We live in this world of infinite possibility. And if we have our certain belief systems we're almost in a prison of what we believe is possible. And we need to go beyond what we think is possible, because so much more is possible than we even achieved. And I just think that's so inspiring and hopeful. And so if we can keep learning and keep expanding our potential, we can keep demonstrating more and more, like the Roger Bannister breaking the 4-minute mile. Once he did it, within a month, 20 other people did it as well. So it's just break those paradigms down so that we can keep expanding our potential.
I love the example of Bannister because, before he did that thing, nobody thought it was possible. And you creating this amalgam of world-class experts and coming out with a documentary and a book and all the things you've done, a lot of people probably have dreams of doing that. There's probably hundreds of people listening right now that would say, I would love to do what Kelly did. I would love to create that. You had to have a belief that it was possible before you ever did it. Was that belief because you were in entertainment for 20 years? Like, where did the belief that you could pull this off even come from?
Sure. So I had, just that foundation of being on movie sets my whole life. So I had a general awareness. I had a general desire ever since I was little to be a director. I was, I don't know if I was bossy, but I always thought that my way of doing things was better than my brother's or whatever home movie I was making. Uh-huh. And then I started going to Agape, Michael Beckwith's, church here in LA.
Yes.
And his teachings started inspiring me to believe truly. So he taught me that that call, whatever lights you up when you talk about it, whatever that calling is in your heart that keeps popping up and coming to the forefront of your awareness, pay attention to that. So I've been an actress for, off and on for 20 years. And I started paying attention, wow, I'm so much more passionate talking about the power of the mind and law of attraction and co-creating with life and quantum physics and psychology and then I just had this vision come together of making a film with all of these people that have empowered me. And then it eventually, went towards healing. But his teachings really taught me to pay attention to what the calling was in my heart, and to see that as a signal from the universe, or a guidance from your higher self, that is your path. That is part of your purpose, and it could be one stepping stone on my path, but it is part of my purpose of being here.
In the same vein where you're sharing about getting those hits from the universe and knowing that you're supported as you do what's really true for you, that's what I'm feeling from you. It's like when you're doing something that that Kelly knows in her heart is real and it's exciting. Like you had said, you got lit up when you're talking about metaphysical more than anything else. You would feel kind of guided in that way, right? You'd feel more supported. Would you say that's true, that you'd feel supported by the universe and people?
1,000,000%. When you trust, and I always go back to that, there's an oak tree in every acorn. There's actually a forest of oak trees in every acorn. And so just really believing that the desire in your heart comes with every single ability to see it realized, to trust that. And once I said yes, once I was ready to do it, there was just a full blown energy and flow behind it. And I just kind of surrendered. I'm like, look, I don't know what I'm doing, but this pull is very strong. I'm going to say yes to it. And I'm just like, you figured it out, God, I'm just going to keep moving forward and listening to my heart. And it just kind of all fell into place. But
there had to have been challenges that came up along the way. I mean, any big project, it's like, it's not just going to do itself. There's probably roadblocks that you experienced, on a big level, even though you were guided, even though that you felt supported. Can you share one of the biggest challenges in creating the documentary? Because I'm sure at times we all feel tested on our dream.
Absolutely. So, making a film, especially it was fairly low budget documentary. There's so many moving parts. There's often obstacles that pop up. One of the, and I don't really think I've talked about it publicly, but one of the biggest challenges is that I started the project with a friend of mine. It was always my vision, but she, was kind of working in a job, and she had film experience. She had directing experience. And she was looking for another job. So I said, why don't you come on as a creative producer? It's my baby. I'm going to direct, but you can she was a good friend. She was going to be very supportive. So we went on, and she was great. And then a couple months in, she and the cinematographer started butting heads. And we were all really conscious of, we're all human. We all have our personalities that we come with. But we were all really practicing what the film was preaching. We were aware of the effect that stress has on our bodies and just in general. So we would all be practicing what we were preaching, except for this one friend. And so problems kept arising, and it wasn't just with one person, it was multiple people. So in the end, I had to let her go from the project, but she was a friend. Obviously, that severed the friendship. Yeah. And she didn't understand. She couldn't see what everyone else saw. And it was the biggest challenge. It was the hardest conversation I had to date. But it was a challenge. It was the universe was like, she's out of integrity with the message of the film. And you have to do the hard thing to protect the integrity of the film. And it was hard, but again, it was a learning. These people come into your life as teachers, and you've got to do the hard thing. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, because gosh, I mean, even in the formulation of Wellness Force Media and this podcast, there's been multiple challenges where I've had to make those kind of decisions too, with people and with events. And gosh, I don't think that Spirit designed this to be super easy all the time. And I think there's consistent lessons that pop up. And this is where it lays right on top of the film and everything that the film stands for. And that is something happening to me? Am I a victim? Or is this happening for me? I think of even the woman who was riding her bike and she was doing yoga, and then she wound up getting cancer, and gosh, sometimes there's just no explanation other than these diseases and these things come up to wake people up, to allow them to actually heal the things that caused the cancer in the first place. So in the same vein where you had to let your friend go and do the hard thing,
diseases come up for us to give us unique challenges.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm curious how you see that now with all your experience. Like, why do these diseases even exist? Like, what is the point of having our loved ones perish sometimes and having cancer come up and diseases? Like, why do you see this happening? What do you think this is all about for us?
Yeah, I think it's like you said, it's feedback. It's a wake up call in a way. And, you know, the majority of people that look back that have healed from cancer, they look back and they're grateful for their disease because it led them to where they are today and made them better. It's given them their life's purpose. It's, you know, it helped them meet the love of their life, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So it's getting to that place where you trust that the universe has your back, that life has your back. It's always for you, never against you, which there's times that it sucks. I mean, the pain that comes with disease, the fear that comes with disease, but it gets you out of that victimhood. It's like if you need all the power you can get to heal. You need life force energy. And if you're in victimhood, if you feel powerless, that something is happening to you, that your body is breaking down, or these tumors are out of control or whatever, and you have there's nothing you can do if you feel powerless, that's going to hinder your healing. So the more we learn about all of this, the more we can take our power back. And, you know, again, just because Peter's fresh in my mind and he's a friend of ours, he said life presents you with circumstances to show you where you're still not free. So a lot of times disease comes into life to show that, you know, people have been beating themselves up terribly. You know, they've been speaking to themselves in not so loving language. So again, it comes back to that self-love. So, you know, but then why does a child?
You just read my mind. I mean, I was just about to say, well, what about people born with type 1 diabetes or with cleft palate? I mean, there's so many things that kids, they don't, it's almost like I feel like they don't deserve it. Like, why? You know?
Exactly. I mean, I sit here and I'm like, I'm so healthy. And, you know, I do have great genes and but I grew up on a terrible diet. I drank like a Coca-Cola a day, ate fast food twice a day. I mean, I'm like shocked that my body is so healthy. But, you know, again, as you make changes, your body can also make changes. But yeah, suffering is something that people have been questioning since the beginning of time. All religions, all spiritual practices, like go, you know, try to end suffering, remove suffering. And you know, all we can say without really knowing is that people come into this world with, you know, a purpose. And sometimes they're a teacher. Sometimes they're a elevated, you know, an advanced soul that's coming in because this is their final piece of alchemy and pressure to learn this or shed this one last attachment or whatever it is. Like, so we don't have all the answers. We also know that the fact that more kids are coming into this world, the blood toxicity levels of babies is just like through the roof. I mean, so it's waking us up to, you know, and all the angry mothers and fathers out there are eventually going to become loud enough to where they're not spraying all our crops with this deadly chemicals, or putting, you know, not being transparent on food labels. So all of these things are for a purpose, you know, waking people up in some way, shape, or form. But yeah.
Oh man, I mean, you just lit me up, because what you're saying is this unique piece of wisdom where sometimes someone's life is a mirror for change that the world needs. Mm-hmm. You know, these kids come into the world, or, you know, even the topic of glyphosate and leaky gut and how that hurts people, and what's going on with Monsanto and Bayer, and how the gentleman got awarded $90 million, like, and even Trump being in office, just everything that we're experiencing is like coming from either light or dark, but it's all producing change. It's all either getting chaos to some kind of order. Do you feel like this is true? Like chaos is always seeking order in some way?
1,000,000%. I think there is a divine intelligence that's got this whole, it appears like chaos. You know, there's aspects of the universe and stars and galaxies that appear chaotic, but there is just this beautiful order and there's an intelligence far greater than our own, that is orchestrating everything and keeping it in harmony. So it's all perception, and you know, there's a lot of Trump is inciting and waking a lot of people up in their own right, and moving through anger and frustration, and you know, just so I look at it as like a pimple coming to a head of some old paradigms that need to be transmuted into some, you know, more conscious ways of thinking. And so right now it's just like everything is coming to a head, and it ain't pretty and it ain't cute, but eventually we're going to shift into a new paradigm.
When I watched the certain clips of Bruce Lipton in Heal, and the things where he's talking about always, his frame is the biology of belief. And I had someone on the podcast recently, and it just split my mind. I think you'll love this. And he said that there is a biological reward to faith, to having faith. Mm-hmm. And just feeling that for a second, if you look at the blue zones, if you look at all across the world, the determining factor in people's longevity, it wasn't just food. It was the fact that they had community and they had a connection to something bigger.
Yeah.
And whether we want to go scientific or spiritual with it, what are your thoughts about this? And how did Bruce's work impact you as a filmmaker, and just learning from him in this regard but the biology of belief and the biological reward of faith?
Yeah, I mean, he is such a jovial. If you get the chance to sit down next to him, it was such a pleasure just to sit across with him and talk for hours, and he just exudes joy, and love. And I mean, his book was The Biology of Belief was like a major catalyst to get me ready to start the film, because once I learned about epigenetics, which is the science that says we're not victims of our genes are a blueprint, and our lifestyle choices and our beliefs are determine what turn on and off genes. So that is the most empowering thing that I've heard in a very long time. Genetics is generally like disempowering, right? Well, it's genetic.
It's in my genes. My dad was fat. I'll be fat too. Yeah.
There's alcoholism. I'm going to be an alcoholic, or whatever it is. Yeah. And just, it really is all perception. It's that our subconscious beliefs color our lens, and the subconscious beliefs that we have aren't even ours. We've adopted them. We've just downloaded this programming as a child. So we're kind of walking through the world as these robots. And I always laugh. I'm like, oh, it's so funny that we say it's genetic, but it's really just, it's the people, nobody's breaking the pattern of the programming that just comes down the line. So it's the same food. It's the same genes are being expressed, but it's actually epigenetics that is determining, and nobody breaking that cycle of beliefs, those belief systems,
Yeah, it's so good, because we've had many scientists, but also spiritual leaders talk about this, where just because a belief was passed down, it doesn't mean that it's actually yours. And many times it could be even from a past life. We had Mark Wolin on the show. He's involved in family constellation work. And so what he shares is over, I think, 20 or 30 years of him working with people now, many, many things, the way that people even cut themselves or addictions, they're all driven by like third or even fourth lineage, where the science is showing that you and I were actually an egg in our great grandmother at some point, and then she birthed us into the world, obviously through our mothers. But there's a lot of time and a lot of beliefs that are adopted by our parents, our grandparents, and our great grandparents that might feel like they're ours, but they're not actually ours. Right. Have you explored this wing of science and physiology and the past life regressions? Is that something that's come up for you?
Yeah. I tried to do a past life regression session. At one point it didn't work, but I've done constellation work. And, I do believe in past lives. I had very vivid dreams as a child.
What do you think past life came up for you that you could share? Anything interesting you could share about past life?
I mean, one of my dreams I had, it was like it was a recurring dream, and I was in the Civil War, and it was like crazy. I mean, stuff I knew about the Civil War that a 10-year-old kid or a 7-year-old kid wouldn't know, and I was a young soldier. So that's wild. I don't even know, like that just popped in my head again. I haven't had that dream for 20 years, but I do believe that, and I don't, once I start talking about this tangent, it's hard for me to articulate, but I see it as, it's not linear, like, I don't know. It's wild to talk about. I won't even go down that rabbit hole.
But you do believe that there is some connection to the beliefs of our parents and grandparents in our current life.
Yes. And there's a lot of different modalities that say like you can heal, doing this work will heal 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. And I think in Ayurveda, it's like to heal the child, you got to heal yourself, or the same, something like that. So I absolutely believe that, there's ancestral baggage that is a factor in our healing. That if you've tried everything and nothing else is working, I would definitely check that out.
Yeah, I 100% connect with you on this. I have felt the presence of my grandfather many times. In breath work, I've done a lot of deep breath work in the past year, especially with our Breathe program that we're coming out with. And so in these cathartic journeys, there has been connections to my grandfather and to World War II, where I would feel his anger and frustration and also his sadness about what war actually does to the human psyche. And I deep compassion for him in this breathwork journey. And I felt it as if I was right there with him. And there are ways that people can do healing through breath. And I know, with Heal, a lot of this is energy medicine and the power of belief and really exploring the connection between our beliefs and our health and our wellness. But where does breathwork come into the conversation for Heal and for maybe even the future and the evolution of what you're creating?
Yeah, I think breath work is some of those powerful work you can do. There was only so many modalities that we could touch on in the film, but
right.
there was one, screen that we lobbed up of a few different other modalities that we didn't touch upon in detail, but we said, look, these are some things available. If they catch your eye, like follow that, and breath work is one of them. I myself have been doing breath work a lot in the last year. And I think it's some of the most transformational work. It's like so powerful. And, our breath is our connection to spirit. It's inspiration, respiration.
Yeah.
And it's, when we are in fear and stress, which a lot of us are, when we are operating from a disempowering belief system, like I am not safe or I am not good enough, we hold on to our breath. We're not breathing deeply. So all of our body's natural intelligence and systems and design is not functioning at max capacity. So our breath is the kind of key to everything. If we're going to break it down in two, it's like breath and belief, those are things. And I love tools and meditation, a daily tool, is very connected to your breath as well. So these are free for everybody. We all have breath, otherwise we wouldn't be here. So I would encourage anyone to explore it.
Well, and if you're feeling like you need more breath, you're probably needing it and then some, because we typically as human beings, whenever we're under stress or strife, think of us in relationships. Like when I get in an argument with my partner and she's upset, the first thing that I do is I remind myself to breathe. And if I don't, it ain't going to come out that pretty. It's not going to be as loving. It's not going to be as connected, because without the presence of breath, constriction and fear creeps in. And this is what I get from the real work that's needed right now, which leads me to my question for you. There's so many things that you've explored. Like this is the gamut of healing. What do you think the work actually is for us right now as human beings in our world? Like, what does that even mean to you to do the work? And what is the work?
I think the work is working on yourself, becoming aware of your belief systems, becoming aware. I think it really comes down to how we perceive life, which again is through our beliefs. And, to learn that everything is frequency and energy. Our hearts have an electromagnetic field that sends energy, and it can expand or, get smaller based on our thoughts and our breath and all of that stuff. So to me, it's doing the work on yourself, and how you relate to life. A lot of people, and I just went through this with Peter as well, but, you have these circumstances or these people in your life that you want to change. They're causing you so much stress, chaos, drama, whatever it is. And you will be happy when those people or the circumstances change. And that is, and they talk about it in healing. It's like matter trying to change matter. We have to come about it from a different way. We have to change how we see the circumstance or the person, how we relate to the circumstance or person. So it all starts with us. We need to find happiness regardless of change. We need to find peace, like focus on what we're trying to achieve. Like if that person changes, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be peaceful. Then I'll have peace in my life. Find that peace and happiness regardless of the circumstance or persons. And that's the work and finding the different tools and teachers and practitioners, books, podcasts that will help you really it's that self-awareness. Just learn so much about yourself and your belief system so that you can make the necessary changes and see the world in a different way.
It's so good because I know that from my own life experience and from everyone we've had on the show, including yourself, our beliefs are there to be changed. And I feel like the only way that I can change my beliefs is if I am constantly searching for evidence that the belief I actually want, that the belief I actually know is true. In other words, there's a gathering of evidence that we are responsible for every single day. And it's my loving responsibility to gather the evidence that I'm loved, that I'm supported, that I'm on the right path. Like that's really where the rubber meets the road. What do you think about that?
100%. You're changing the way it's the same. You're changing the way you see the world. If you think about it, our brains are wired to find evidence to support the negative beliefs we have in our head. Yeah. So if we think we're not good enough, we are going to keep attracting that guy or that girl that's going to smack us in the face with you're not good enough. And we're not skinny enough, we're not rich enough, whatever. You're going to keep coming up because that's your belief system and your brain is wired to give you evidence that that is true. So we need to shift our belief systems and then start searching for evidence to support that. And that's how you create new neural pathways. And that's how you affect your brain and neuroplasticity.
Can you please create another documentary series on specifically gathering evidence? Like, I think that right there would be so powerful of people that have had to gather evidence. Otherwise, they would have left the world or they would have had mental health issues. Like, this is a really, really powerful conversation because by the time this episode comes out, it'll be May, which is National Mental Health Awareness Month. And with my mom's bipolar and just people in my family and lineage, there's so many people that are suffering, like really, really suffering when it comes to mental health. And a lot of these people choose to leave the world, and it's just it doesn't have to be this way. And my question to you is like the mental health conversation and what we're doing in this world, how you're creating content around this. Do you have something planned to address mental health in the future? Like, what's the next step for Heal? Or are you doing something totally different? How are you attacking this, really like this darkness that's here with mental health?
Oh, it's such a big, big thing to tackle. And it's so complex. And there's so many reasons why people are struggling more than ever with mental health. And I think, foundationally, a lot of it comes with, toxicity again and our gut health, the gut-brain connection, ancestral lineage. I think information and pressures that our brains haven't evolved to be able to process. Social media, the pressures that are on children these days and teenagers and adolescents. It's like, I don't know that I could survive or be mentally healthy growing up in high school right now with social media. So, it's so multifaceted and ironically, you should ask. For me, I'm a 9-month-old baby. I birthed the book, the baby, the film. So I just feel like I need to take a mental health break a little bit and just come back to the present and refill my tank with inspiration. Because I've been so in this heal world with the experts in the books for so long, but it was a journey that started 8, 9, 10 years ago, when the thoughts came. So I'm ready for like a next, just refill the tank so that I can feel that next call in my heart. But, I need to create space and just be present with my baby and reconnect to the inspiration of what's next.
That's such a great reminder for all of us, because I think in my world, like the entrepreneurial, the content creation world, for some reason, I don't know if you ever feel this, but it's like, I want to always create more. What's the next thing?
Every day.
What's coming up next? What am I going to do better next time? And in a way that's healthy, it's cool, but without awareness, that could actually be deleterious, and that could take away from me doing the thing that I'm actually talking about, which is wellness. How do I live my life well? So I'm curious how you're going to manage this. Do you feel like potentially there might be somebody that you pass some of this off to so that there can still be this wave that people are riding that'll take them to greater healing?
Yes, absolutely. So that has been the dialogue I've had in my head the last month. So I actually spoke to my producing partner, Adam, who he just released a series called Road to Dharma, but he's got a little more time on his hands now that that's out in the world. And so he's going to kind of manage the everyday just for a period of time so that I can take a breather, and keep that wave going, because I do feel like whether it's conscious or subconscious, we feel this pressure. Everybody's releasing a podcast. You've been at it for a while, but it's funny. Like I get a text every day, like, they're cropping up daily, and you just feel this pressure of like, to post on social media and keep your people engaged and create. And I'm inspired by so much that I want to do so much. And I just have to go, okay, divine timing. I'm not going to miss out on anything. I just need to take care of myself and listen to, and, get grounded and just be the right thing will come at the right time. So I did. It's like, I feel this moral obligation to continue to give content to our followers, because we have such an engaged community and so many people are suffering. I get messages every day of like, people wanting help, which just weighs on me as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we'll just keep the wave going like we can, and we'll just wait and see. We are developing a television series, so we'll see where that goes. But we'll just see where the wave is meant to. Yeah.
Well, it's cool, because when you said I'm pausing and I'm taking a breath, it reminded me to take one too. And I think that sometimes is the most powerful thing we can do, is just live our life the best way we can, which is the whole ethos of this show. Like, how do we live life well? Let's just live the best possible life we can. That is the most powerful indicator and example for change for others. Because I've found this, it's like whenever I try to make something, like force something to happen, funny that the show's name is Wellness Force. When I try to force wellness, it doesn't work. When I allow the force of wellness to flow, just like water, everything seems to work and it's not as hard. And can you share insight on this for people as parting guidance to heal themselves without the healing process having to be so white knuckled and so controlled?
Yes. Life force, energy, blood, all of his things are meant to flow, and in Buddhism, it's, the key to not suffering is releasing attachment, having no attachment. One of the first steps to healing is acceptance, not resisting with white knuckles and pushing away. So all that, the foundation is just really relaxing, accepting, not pushing back, not holding on, so that you can let the life force energy flow. So you can have the expansion so that you can breathe fully. So it's not grasping. And even my friend got diagnosed with stage 3C ovarian cancer. She had recently lost both of her parents to cancer, which is obviously the scariest thing that could happen. You get the same diagnosis that you buried your parents from. And Heal was just coming out. So I gave her an advanced copy. She did the work, and within 6 months, she did chemo and radiation, and she also did surgery, but she did all of the other integrative things to support it as well. And she went into remission, or no evidence of disease, after about 6 months. But recently she reached out and she said, I'm not feeling well. I can't shake this thing. I feel like I've had the flu for a month, and I'm worried that something's coming back. And I just said, look, go to your doctors, get the necessary information. But like, if something comes back, or if this is a new aspect of your journey. Let's course correct. It's a deeper dive now, but that doesn't mean you're not going to heal. That means this is just phase 2, and we're going on a deeper dive. So there's always opportunity to course correct, and to have that faith that everything is happening for a reason to put you on the path that you're meant to go on.
That was beautifully said. And also it's about honoring the mystery, because sometimes things can be so challenging for people. And as we say goodbye, I'd love for you to speak to this one person, because I've been feeling, it's actually a woman that I've been feeling her presence. She's at a point in her life right now where this is the lowest she's ever been. Maybe she has a disease. Maybe somebody she cares about has a disease, or maybe she's just feeling the collective disease where we're treating each other so poorly. Can you speak to her right now, and just with her eyes closed, can you just let her know that there is a different way for healing? There is a different path for healing. Can you speak to all of us when it comes to healing, what that different path actually is?
Oh, this is a hard one, because, I'm sure she's an empath, and there's so much suffering in the world, and it's too much for us to bear, and so for the people that are really sensitive, they don't know how to handle it all. They don't know how to handle their own suffering. They don't know how to handle all the suffering they see in the world. So we numb ourselves, we escape, we self-sabotage. So I don't know what the answer is. I mean, love is the answer, right? Love is the answer. Just be gentle with yourself. Try to look at everybody else through eyes of compassion. We were all little innocent little babies. I look at my 9-month-old and she's just innocent. She's just trying her best to learn these new skills. And, that makes it even more heartbreaking when you see what's happening in Syria or all over the world, innocent children. So it's all too much to bear, but just to see everybody, even Donald Trump, as he is who he is because of the conditioning that he went through in his life. The people that hurt the most, meaning cause harm and hurt, are hurting the most. So it's just, again, I don't have the answer. Answer is love, and really just be gentle on yourself and try, again, connect with breath, because you'll get those little whispers from spirit on what your next step will be, what your purpose is, and it could be a moment, it could be a life path, it could be. And the other thing I would say, and I love this, and I'll leave people with this, when people are depressed or anxious or frustrated with their circumstance, take the attention off yourself and go help someone else. Helping and serving elicits so much love in your body. The giver actually receives 10 times as much as the person that was given to. So if you are in a dark time in your life, take the attention off yourself for a moment and go volunteer it and help someone else.
HealDocumentary.com /book is where you can get the book. And also you can watch the documentary 3 times like I have. Kelly, thank you for your work in this world. We're all making sense of this, and we're doing our best to come from love. We're doing our best to ride the wave and not succumb to the distractions that are in our world. So, your film represents and your book represents this beacon, this light that people can feel. I mean, it's a warmth that I can feel when I see the book and when I see the film. So thank you for what you do in the world. Deep bow to the contribution that you give to wellness. Where can people support you the most? Where can they get involved with you the most?
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Right back at you. Follow us on Heal Documentary on Facebook and Instagram, and HealDocumentary.com. You can keep up to date with all the events and get the book and the film there in many different languages. The book's in, I think, 20 different languages at this point. Wow. And then I'm personally at Kelly Gores on Instagram, and I'm most active there. So hope to connect with some of you there.
Well, as we say goodbye, the signature that we always say goodbye with is wellness. What exactly is it? You explore so many things with so many experts in your media, but how does Kelly see wellness? How would you define wellness? What is wellness to you?
Yeah, I think that, healing is ultimately spiritual, and spiritual comes back to this idea of faith and belief that life is for you and never against you. We have this word disease. So if that means sick, well to me means a state of ease. And you're going to come to a state of ease when you have a belief system that is loving and trusting in this bigger picture, in this divine intelligence that has your back. You have a purpose. And when you are at ease, you are truly well. You're going to make great, positive, self-loving choices in your life to take care of your body temple, to act in loving ways. So that's what wellness is to me, ease.
That's a mic drop moment. Thank you for coming on the show. We're talking about Kelly's work, wellnessforce.com /group. Kelly, thank you again for being here with us on Wellness Force.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for listening to the show, my friend. Everything you learned on this podcast starts with your morning practices. So from over 300 world-class guests, we pulled together 6 simple yet powerful morning practices down into a 21-minute system, guaranteed to increase your vibration and the way that you feel every day. Get this free, powerful guide over at wellnessforce.com /M21. And if you love this show, share it with somebody. Share it with somebody that you love or that you care about. You can support the show easily by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes Just go to wellnessforce.com/review, or if you're on your phone, just tap it, hit the link in purple that says review this podcast. And the journey does not stop here. We're continuing this discovering process in our private Facebook group over at wellnessforce.com/group. You can be a part of it. You already are. All you have to do is join us at wellnessforce.com/group, and I will welcome you at the door. Now go out into your life and live your life well. And until I see you again real soon, I'm wishing you love and wellness.